Hey guys, Spark here, and today we're going to do something a little different. I know that I've already gone through the entire campaign on both of these, and I'm still working on this. These videos will be coming up soon. But I've actually had a lot of requests on how to play Magic. So I'm going to do a straight tutorial this video. If you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. It's honestly just going to be a tutorial. I'm going to go through the tutorial and explain everything that there is to do with Magic. Hopefully. Okay. Forget the avatar crap. Alright, so the way the Magic game starts is in a standard game, Type 1, Type 1.5, Extended, any sanctioned game other than Sealed or Draft, you have a 60 card deck. In Draft, you have to have at least a 40 card deck. And you can have more than a 60 card deck in Standard and whatnot if you really want to, but logic behind it says that you don't want to, simply because you have better odds of drawing the cards you need in the situations you need them. So, the game starts off, you roll a dice to decide who goes first, or you flip a coin, something, some way. So you roll like a d20, a 20-sided dice, and say, high roll. Highest roll gets to pick whether they go first or not. It's generally an advantage to go first, unless you're like a control deck that can play stuff real early. Like some of the control decks now might want to go second. You do that before you even look at your hand. So we roll a d20 and I decide I want to go first. So we draw 7 cards then. Go ahead and skip these. Alright, so we draw 7 cards. This is our opening hand. If we decide that we do not like this hand, we can mulligan down to 6 cards. And then if we don't like that hand, we can mulligan down to 5, down to 4, down to 3, down to 2, down to 1, down to 0. It's generally not a good idea to go past 5, just because after that point you pretty much lose the game just straight up. So at the beginning of our turn, we have our untap step, our upkeep step, and then our draw step. So, beginning of our turn, the little start phase that it says down here is untap, upkeep, draw. And it usually happens simultaneously. I like to say untap, upkeep, draw because that helps me realize that if I have an upkeep trigger, I usually play something on top of the deck too to remind myself that I have an upkeep trigger. Something like it says at the beginning of your upkeep, draw an extra card. Or at the beginning of your upkeep, pay X mana or you lose X life. Or at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. I think Lure of the Pit has that. I think it was in one of the earlier videos. But, so you do that, you untap, and then you have the upkeep cost that you pay, and then you draw your card for the turn. The person that goes first does not draw a card. The person that goes second does. That's why there's the advantage. The advantage is the person going first gets to play the additional land and have the land advantage over his opponent. The person going second has the general card advantage, and it's much more common to mulligan a bad hand or a decent hand if you're going second, because you're going to have 7 cards and you're going to be in the same place as your opponent. So let's go ahead and play a land. We can play no spells in our... Let's go ahead and take a look at this real quick. Mana cost on cards. This says 1 green, 2 of anything else. So his total mana cost, converted mana cost, is 3. 1 of which has to be a forest, and if we had an island and a swamp out, we could play forest, island, swamp, tap him, and we're good. Now, once again, we can only play 1 land a turn, but we can play any number of creatures, spells, instant sorceries, enchantments, artifacts. So now it's our turn. So we've drawn that. So we play our second land, and we can now play the Runeclaw Bear. So we tap both the lands, which means that we can no longer use the lands for mana. See, it says tapping. When you use this land for mana, the land becomes tapped until the next turn. It means we no longer can tap that for mana. Same thing works with the creatures. If a creature has a tap ability, like tap deal 1 damage to target creature, if you tap in and do 1 damage to target creature, he doesn't untap until your next untap step. Same thing with attacking. If you attack, the creature becomes tapped unless they have vigilance. They can also not attack the turn they come out They also cannot attack the turn they come out, but you have to wait a turn unless they have an ability called Haste. So it's been 1 turn since we played the Runeclaw Bear, so we can go ahead and attack Soren for 2. And let me go ahead and explain this now that we're dealing damage with him. 2/2. This is attack/defense. So he attacks for 2, and attacks on a creature will always go 1 attack to a defense, the other one will go their attack to the other's defense. So if he had a 2/3 out, he would have killed this, and I would have been able to. But if he would have had a 2/1 out, the 2/2 will kill the 2/1, and the 2/1 will kill the 2/2. If that makes sense. Oh, we have to cast this spell. Now, none of these creatures have any abilities. Creatures can have, when you play this spell, or when this card enters the battlefield, abilities. So, Alright. And this is just a static ability here. Gets +2/+1 as long as an opponent has 10 or less life. So, that's, if I have 10 or less life, he automatically gets +2/+1. Alright. Tutorial. Soren casts Disfiguring, targeting Runeclaw Bear. Okay. He's casting Disfigure. Disfigure here says target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. So that will make him a 0/0. As soon as his defense hits 0, he is dead. So as a result of it's put in the graveyard as a result of his of having 0 toughness. So now you can watch the rest of the games for more in-depth on this is how Magic works, and it's actually teaching me to play right. You probably want to play lands during your main phase, unless you only have like 2 cards left in your hand. But generally you don't want to play any spells until your second main phase, just so that you have this mana open to cast any instant spells. Now we don't have any instant spells yet. And I can show you guys that when it gets here. But instants can be cast at any time in the game as long as you have something to respond to. You can respond to someone entering or leaving their main phase, entering or leaving a combat step, or in response to a spell that was played. Now, or the end of the turn. Generally you don't want to... I'll let you read this. Generally, you don't want to be casting spells just willy-nilly, because you'd rather respond to something so that they have mana tapped and are less likely to respond to your spells with something like a counter spell or something else. Like if we had a giant growth, generally we don't want to use a giant growth until we need to, or until it's game changing. So like right now, just staying in this situation right here, like we have the giant growth now, and it's going to make us attack and pump him, which is going to be stupid, but it does get in for extra damage. But what we would want to do is, if this right here was a 3/1 like he was last turn, and Soren cast Disfigure on him, now we could cast Giant Growth in response to the Disfigure before the Disfigure resolves and save him. And that's what's called the stack. The way the stack works is the first spell played is the last one to resolve. So he plays Disfigure, we play Giant Growth. He could play another Disfigure, and we could play another Giant Growth. And then we would go Giant Growth would go, the first Giant Growth would go, the last casted Giant Growth would go off first. Then the second Disfigure, and then the first Giant Growth, and then the first Disfigure. If that makes sense. It stacks from top to bottom as each spell is played on top of it. If you let a spell resolve, however, the spell has resolved and you cannot cast a Giant Growth at that point. If we were like, hey, Disfigure's okay, Disfigure kills that, and we were like, oh, no, 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 we wanted to Giant Growth, too late. Creature's dead. So it's going to make us Giant Growth here. And this is us declaring attackers, and he's going to declare a blocker. Okay, here we go. Last Gasp. This is a perfect example. So he says Last Gasp. It's an instant spell. He can play it when in response to us declaring attackers. So what we want to do now is we're going to stop the timer and giant growth him to keep him alive. So now he becomes a 6/6 before this ability resolves. And we'll see. So the 6/6 before this ability resolves, and then this one will resolve and make him a 3/3 again. And both of those effects just last until the end of the turn, and the damage that he would have taken wears out at the end of the turn. And we'll go ahead and play a land since we're supposed to. I imagine Soren's going to play something scary this turn and make us wait to cast him. Doomblade. Doomblade says destroy target creature, or destroy target non-black creature. Cost 1 black and 1, and that again is an instant. He didn't have to play that during his main phase. He could have waited till we declared attackers, which probably would have been a better idea, because if he would have waited till our turn, we would have thrown this Blanchwood Armor on him, and then he would have responded with the Doomblade, and we would have wasted 2 cards to his 1, and he would have a card advantage over us, which is very important. I'm sure that he has another Doomblade or something. Maybe not. No, he does not. Okay, so that's basically the way to play Magic. Now, that's everything explained real simply. There's a lot of like little rules, like the creature in our hand that had Trample. Trample allows you to go over the defense of a creature and attack the player with it. So if we had that 7/7 worm out and he blocked with a 2/1, the creature would take 1 damage and then he would take 6. Other than that, though, I think that's a relatively good description of how the game works. I hope. If you guys have any more questions, though, please feel free to leave a comment, and I will do my best to answer them. And if you guys could leave a rating so that other people can find this, that would be great, because there really are a lot of people out there who want to play Magic and want to get better. It's just, there really aren't good places to go anymore. I know I've got the closest place around me to go play Friday Night Magic at, which there's Friday Night Magics in almost every town, like every bigger city. There's several in certain cities. But the closest one to me is about an hour away. So, you know, it's a bit of a drive to go play with other people that play Magic. Now, I'm lucky enough to have a bunch of people that I got into Magic and who got me into Magic and whatnot. But, you know, best thing is, if you're really, really interested in playing the game, try and find one of the Friday Night Magics near you. Wizards has a great location device on their website. And if you go and just watch some of the people play there, you know, Magic people are relatively nice. Most of us are. We'll be more than willing to help people learn, especially if you're coming to the store, spending money. And, I mean, the owners will be more than happy to help you. I know the owners where I'm at love to help new people out, and it's because they bring in more people. Once someone's interested in it, you get more people interested in it, and then, you know, a whole bunch more stuff. So again, guys, thank you for watching. I hope this helped you out, and I will see you later.